Check, check, check. Greetings, everyone. Let me say peace, love, light to you all. Um, may all be well with you, your loved ones. Uh, everything that you're seeking to accomplish in life. It's been a while. I know it's been a while, so I just want to check in to let everyone know that I'm still alive. You know, thanks to the Most High. Um, Still here working on a few things. Uh, and also working on my health, my personal as well. So I'm on this journey to build my foundation strong, which has to start with my mental, spiritual, my physical. So that's one of the paths that I've been on, and working with my family to try to build something and get something going. So, just had to take some time to work on my personal life. With that being said, I was having a conversation with someone. Oh, let me also thank the folks that emailed me to check up on me as well. Give thanks to you all. Much love, much respect to you all. Um, and let me shout out the ICCC for the work that they have been doing and the things that they have coming. 'Cause they got some stuff coming to put out there for everyone. Uh, I commend their consistency, and to all the other platforms that have been pushing and putting out um, the information. Much love and much respect to you all. Uh, Now, more than ever, is the time where we really need to come and start getting this information out there, that we have to start feeding the mind of the younger generations as much as we can, because this fight, this battle isn't going anywhere, and it's only intensifying. And I want people to pay attention to the big setup, to how they've been setting you up, and try to be able to tell within the signs of the times of what is coming and what they are planning. The New Jersey governor signed a bill that states that all police officers, policy officers, operating under the guise of law enforcement officers are to have a license to be a policy, or what they're mispronouncing as police officer. He signed that bill, and they made that public right around the time they started pushing the whole monkeypox um, gibberish. Nobody paid attention. And I give much respect to the person that shared that information with me. I want y'all to pay attention, because it's something that a lot of other states are going to also start doing. And American Arawaks and I have been telling you guys for years, and other platforms out there as well, that what you call a policy or a police officer, yeah, what you call a policy or police officer, are collection agents. They are actually collection agents that operate with permission from the Secretary of State and is deputized by the Sheriff Department to stay in operations. This is how your police departments, or what you call peace officers, work. You also have what is called a private police officers and special private police officers. These agents that are unionized under the fraternal order of policy or police officers, each individual man and woman must have an EIN number. They must have that. What an EIN number is, it's a tax ID number for them to operate as a business. You understand? And in order to have a business in the United States dot corporation, you must have a tax ID. So if each individual officer has an not if, each individual officer has an EIN number, that means they are operating in a business status. Okay? That means every time they do a transaction with you, it's just business, which they need your permission. You understand? I'm headed somewhere with this because New York just did something. And like I said, people are not paying attention. So because each individual officer must have an EIN, just like Walmart, Home Depot, Kmart, shit, Madison Square Garden, JP and Morgan, Chase Bank, all these major companies or a business in general must have insurance, a bond, an insurance bond. That insurance bond will then cover if there are any damages that occurs in those facilities or if their employees cause any damages towards anyone whom are deemed as a customer or one who they're doing a business transaction with. Okay. So when these policy officers are operating or how they've been operating all these years without a license to do business, what does that say about all the arrests that they have made in non-violent situations? Is anyone, are those arrests legit since they've been operating without a license all those years? All those people that was arrested? This is why I used to tell people back in the day when folks were being arrested for weed or what they call marijuana, that it's not illegal. What you've been getting arrested for was calling it by a name that someone trademarked and patented. So you were infringing on the rights of someone else's business. Do you understand? When you interact with a policy officer, they always want you to say that you understand. And they always need your permission. They'll try to trick you that they don't need your permission because since they operate as a business, each individual officer, they get paid by off of commission of the amount of tickets and arrests that they write. So out of 100% of the time, at least 98 or 99% of the time, they're going against law to enforce policies to put more money in their pockets. Policies and law is not the same thing. Policies are rules of a business, a corporation, a company. Law comes from a constitutional standpoint, comes from a universal standpoint, comes from a common sense, common law standpoint. So when each of these individual officers, and I want you to pay attention because you need to know what an officer is. An officer is not just someone that wears a uniform. An officer is a governor. An officer is a mayor. An officer is the councilman that's in your neighborhood. Understand? An officer is the chief of police, police commissioner. Anyone that holds an office is an officer that operates under the guise of a public servant. The county clerk is an officer. These are all officers. Okay? So understand, people. Now, I'm not trying to throw too much at you guys all at once. Okay? So I'm just trying to give you as much as I can right now so that you guys can go out there and do your research. I have the EIN number for the state, county, municipality that or the, I am in, well, not in, but you know, occupy right now. Right? We are in the territory. When you say territory, that takes you outside of the jurisdiction of the corporation because corporations operate on the zip code. That's it. All. What's your zip code? What's your name? They need you to see that you're that name because the name on that ID card is an all capital letter name if you got it through the states, which is a corporation. So you have a corporate ID, which means that you are operating also as a business with that all capital letter straw man name. So every time that policy officer interacts with you, it's two businesses interacting with each other. You are just a representative of the office of that business, and they are the representative of the office of their business interacting with each other. So every time you interact with them and you say, okay, I accept your offer to do business, you then must exchange tax ID numbers. You know that? You can file taxes for all them tickets that they gave you because they were supposed they're a business. Now, when you read their constitution, it lets you know that you have the right to be secured in your papers and your persons, your private property, which will be your automobile or your means of what is called private conveyance. Have all right to be secured in that. Okay. That means every time they pull you over and say, "Oh, your tints are too dark, we gotta rip them off." Oh, gotta tow your car because your tints is too dark. You can't be driving around with that. But you're traveling. You're not driving. You see, when you say driving, that means you're operating in business. And because you went to the DMV and got a fictitious title and got your private property registered through the DMV, which is this is the setup, which is contracted with the policy officer's department. You then gave your private property over to the DMV, which made it public to the policy officers, which now the DMV gave them permission to stop you and ticket you and all these type of things. But you don't know that you're operating in a business capacity when it comes to that when you go out there in the world. So you must know how to deal with them. Because they're a business, the New Jersey governor told them and signed that bill that they all must have a license. So ask yourself this. That bill was signed this earlier this year. How many of these officers went out there and got their license to be a policy or what they call a police officer? That's just one setup. Let's go to New York now. New York has traffic cameras running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week right now. Those cameras never used to run like that, nonstop. They passed a new thing that you can't, if driving in the city of New York City, you cannot go, I believe, over 25 or 35 miles driving on New York streets. That camera then will pick you up for all cameras. Traffic cameras are unlawful. Will then snap a picture of your license plates or your DMV given license plate, right? It will snap a picture of that. When it does so, there's a complaint that is put out against you, and then you receive a ticket in the mail. Now, the ticket in the mail came because there was a complaint put against you for driving over what they call the speed limit. Okay? Now, this has been generating more and more and more money for the city of New York. And why did they start doing this? You can't lock up majority of Negroes or poor people for what they call marijuana like that anymore. Because now, which we already predicted years ago, that the Arabs will be selling weed out at the corner stores soon, pretty soon, and they're doing that in New York right now. You go down to Ahmed or Habib, and you can go get some chronic at the corner store. Mind you, they was locking you up for years for having that, but they freed it up for their people to be able to sell it from the corner store in your neighborhood, the community that mostly inhabits you, so that they could get rich still off of you. You understand? Big setup. Back to what I was saying though. I don't want to stray. Just like policy officers, when you look at paperwork that a policy officer does or the court documents, it always marks the officer as the complainant. You understand? That means that officer, the office that officer represents, has filed a complaint against you. That's a personal complaint against your office, saying that your office violated some imaginary policy, right? Now, what you don't know is that officer must prove that he is, because they say, well, Officer Fernando, that he is Officer Fernando. So he has to bring in that birth certificate that shows that a birth certificate says Officer Fernando, right? Officer Fernando as a living man doesn't exist. It's a business. And since it's a business, you can sue that business. You can put a hold on the bond number for that business. This is why they make it so difficult for you to get access to these officers' bond number, because they do so much wrong every day, and that bond is worth up to $2 to $20 million. You could claim that every time they do wrong to you. So when they office files a complaint against you, that's a false report every single time, unless it's in the case of a violent offense where property is damaged and you actually did that shit. Where someone is murdered and you actually did that. Where someone is raped or violated physically and you actually did that. Now that's different. But these policy officers, main name is called peace officers. Their job is to maintain the peace. So if there's no breach in the peace, they're not supposed to come to you and talk to you, period. They're not supposed to interact with you. They're not supposed to try to contract with you. You understand? So now here you have these traffic cameras that are making complaints on people in New York City. But you see, people are so submissive. The only thing they be like, I'll just pay that little ticket. Oh damn, I got ticketed again. I know a person right now that has over 30 tickets and the month is not done yet. Even easy pass tickets. And the month is not done yet. Over 30. I counted them. And they're stressing, oh my God, I gotta pay all of this. Oh, what's gonna happen with my registration and my insurance and my car? And then what's been going on now, every minute they because they got a nice car, they go out there, the police are following them because of tints on a goddamn window. Not knowing that when these officers do that, it is unlawful. A man cannot tell another living man what to do with their private property, which goes back to why they use the business name in the courtroom. So what you need is for the officer to use his real name. If his name is John Herrando Herrera Ortiz or John Samuel James, in a living man capacity, now you hold him responsible for all these false reports and all these things, and you could sue him now also in his personal capacity and press charges against him and put a lien on his business, which is Officer Fernando. The business is Officer Fernando. Put a lien on it, but you can claim the insurance, the bond number, which is traded on the stock market via through the Secretary of State, through your governor and your mayor, and so on and so. They trade this on the stock market, all their bonds. And every time they open up a case against your business, there's a bond open on your business also, which is controlled by the county clerk office, which is also traded on the stock market, which makes millions of dollars. After 3 years, they claim that bond. You don't know this. There's a warrant out for you. After 3 years, they claim that bond. And they make millions off of it when you're the one that's supposed to claim that bond. It's business. A traffic camera can't make a complaint on a living man. That's a computer. It's a robot. A robot can't testify in court. You understand? Officer Fernando can't make a complaint against someone for not having they blinker on when turning after the light goes green. These are policies. Or for you having too dark of a tints on your window. Understand, people, the big setup. Next thing that I want to address. Before they pass this bill about banning assault rifles or heavy machinery, YouTube and social media has been pushing within what they call a black community, which is the indigenous community. All these Negroes out there that played a role in this, these Negroes out there, these ignorant Negroes, right? Because it's their job also. They're in the gun running business, so they're trying to sell guns. But understand what a lot of them are actually doing is promoting gun violence more so to your children and in your community, because YouTube is taking those videos and they blasting it all up on down your timeline in a time where they were pushing to ban assault rifles. Here it is, a whole bunch of Negroes on social media talk about they at the range and they pulling up and then they doing their open carry walks with their rifles and all this, and making it a popular thing to make videos of them holding big machine guns, shooting them in ranges and pulling up in front of supermarkets, popping a trunk, showing the amount of guns they have in it. They're setting you and your children up. Pretty soon, the face of a mass shooter is not going to be the young Caucasian boy that was going through whatever issues he had at home and use it as an excuse to go shoot up a school. You understand? It's going to be your face. And they're gonna start pushing the gang this and the gang that. So every time one of these bigot officers see you, these MK Ultra officers, they're gonna see you as a person that's always carrying a gun, as a gang member, a violent person, someone that popularizes gang culture. Now you see them pushing the whole RICO against Young Thug, and RICO runs both ways. A lot of what these officers are doing is also against RICO as well. RICO can be hit on the prosecutor that's prosecuting them, on the district attorney, and on the all the officers that's involved. They all too can be hit with a RICO in this case, because a lot of what they're pushing are not RICO. RICO was really made for Al Capone and for corrupt cops to put corrupt officers in check. You understand? This is why every time a policy officer stops you for nonviolent offenses, that's a RICO. Every time they use your name in an incorrect capacity, that's a RICO. Every time they put you as black in the system, that's a RICO because that's paper genocide. We're indigenous. We are, well, I can't speak for everyone, but I am an Indian of the Western Hemisphere, or West Indian. Western Hemisphere is the Americas. So if they ever put me in the system as black, that's a RICO against that officer. You understand? Wake up, people. Stop falling for the okie doke. Stop putting yourself out there on TV, on social media, holding these guns. You understand? Because so much of these videos is out there so much, you think that they passed that assault rifle ban because these white kids were shooting up these schools. These white kids been shooting up schools from the 1800s. It's because they're seeing more and more of you or getting them what they call legally and easily accessible. They used to run jokes. They used to run jokes when black people start finding out. When black people start finding out that they have a lot of gun rights, they're going to start changing the gun laws, and they started. Their Second Amendment says you have the right to bear arms. Doesn't say that you need a license or permission from another business or from another man for you to be able to have the right to bear arms. Wake up. Watch how you carry yourself out there. Watch how you put yourself on these cameras. Watch what you're doing. Learn the difference between policy and law. Know what a straw man is. Learn how to get the EIN number. I have the EIN number for New York City, which a lot of people, New York is very slick because they divvy it up. There's multiple different EIN numbers that they have because New York City is a corporation. So they don't want people to be able to find these EIN numbers, but I have all of these numbers. I have the numbers for all the municipalities for New Jersey. I have the EIN numbers for the counties, for the municipalities of Connecticut, for the tri-state area. I have the EIN numbers. I have a book of EIN numbers for officers in Jersey, but they don't put out the bond numbers out there. And the bond number is supposed to be made public. You're going to have to start learning how to get these things and having these things. The internet can be your friend if you know how to use it. There's people out there that are putting out information out there, hoping that someone goes digging and looking and finding these shits. Start teaching your children, man. At least if you don't know status correction and these things, I implore you to at least learn the Constitution. All of these officers took an oath to it. That is the only law and common law, because Constitution also goes into common law, that they're supposed to protect and defend. And when you read that Constitution, when you read the Bill of Rights, When you read the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, when you read these things, you see that over 90% of the time they go against it, which is treason, and which also destroys their qualified, because every officer has what is called qualified immunity. The minute they go against the Constitution, the minute they go against the Bill of Rights, their qualified immunity goes out the window. Do you understand? Stop being the lamb that's being sacrificed. Stop letting these people come in your community and get rich off of you for something that they crucified you for years. When you were doing it, it was illegal because you was getting rich off of it. Now that they see that you were getting rich off of it, and they studied it for over 50 years of its healing benefits, now they come into your community. Now that is not only a spit and a slap, they pissed in your face. And I knew it was coming when was it Bloomberg that made carrying half an ounce or an ounce legal, as long as it's not in little baggies. That means as long as you're not selling it and making money off of it. Because now Uncle Sam can't tax you on that because because you don't have a barcode on it. It doesn't have a SKU number. It's not in a store where they can say, hey, well, you sold this amount of ounces or pounds of weed, so where's our tax money? Could you imagine? Could you imagine today your son and daughter gets up, go in the backyard, find some rocks or something and invent something and say, let them go sell it. And here comes this man out of nowhere that your son and daughter never met and said, hey, if you're going to sell that, you got to pay taxes on that. And you need a license to sell it. I need a license to sell my own property. You know, every time you go into a store, you buy a bag of chips. That chips is now your property. If you want to resell it back by common law, constitutional law, and the laws of man, of the universe, the Most High's law, you have all right to sell back that bag of chips. It's yours. When the brother that they choked out for selling a Lucy cigarette, Eric Gardner, when he walked in, and this is, I keep saying this to people, it's going over people's head, cognitive dissonance. When he walked into the store and he bought a Lucy cigarette or a pack of cigarette from the store, that pack of cigarette then became his private property. If he wanted to resell it back, he had all right to. So when those officers went to him and killed him for selling back his property, they had no right to do so. That was murder. But people are not thinking like this. They're thinking like how they were trained to think. So they're like, well, he shouldn't have been selling a Lucy cigarette. How stupid do you sound? That's like you going to go make a glass of lemonade and put up a lemonade stand saying that you're going to sell some lemonade, and they shoot you in the head for selling lemonade, and then your neighbor said, well, you shouldn't have been selling lemonade. But it's your lemonade. It's your property. Or an artist draws a picture on a piece of paper and he says, let him go sell it, and here comes the cops running. You can't sell that. Why can't I? Did you? And the first thing they'll say, did you register your business? Because now when your business is registered, you're going to have what? An EIN number. So if every officer has an EIN number, they are a registered business. That has to answer to the IRS. So every time these officers stop you and ticket you, they and the department that they work for are supposed to be audited by the IRS. You could put in an audit on them. Did you know that? Because it was something that's supposed to be reported to the IRS. They're supposed to have their EIN and your EIN because now you're doing business with each other. This is why some of you, I say, take out a tax ID on the straw man name. Put that business as a nonprofit. You understand? Anyway, I'm getting up out of here. Peace, love, light to you all. We do have some things coming. Volume 2 of Tools of a Free Man is coming. Uh, yeah, we got a stream that's going to be coming up with also the ICCC. as well soon. Um, we have a good portion of things that we're working on. It's just going to take time. We have limited resources, and it's not a lot of us, but we're doing what we can, and still trying to juggle our personal life. We all got stuff that we're going through, so yeah. But right now, I have to take precedence to build me, take care of my physical. There's too much stuff that's been going on with the health of family members and stuff, and trying to get right so that these things don't fall on I. Well, I'm not trying. I am getting right. I am getting right. Lost 50 pounds in 4 months. You know, it's still going. So yeah. But peace to y'all.